Hey Pilates people, I've had a few requests to share a little bit more information about core engagement. First off, what it means, how to engage our core, and a few exercises both to sort of get us started on the road to finding our transverse abdominal and our core muscles, and then also just how we can advance those exercises once we start getting a little bit more advanced. So basically what I will talk to you about first is what we're talking about when I say core engagement and which muscles to be tuning into. So the muscles that we're talking about are our transverse abdominal muscles. Now, these muscles are located about an inch from the top of your hip bone and then about an inch in towards your belly button as well. So they're just on the inside of your hips basically. Now, the best way to actually find those muscles that I think anyway, is to sort of take a deep breath in and then do a bit of a cough while you're pressing into your stomach. Just keep doing that. Now, it's better to do it at home than in a class situation, so you're probably feeling less embarrassed. But as you cough, you should actually feel those muscles pressing into your fingers. Now, they're the ones that we want to be engaging throughout the majority of our Pilates practice. So those muscles, the transverse, are the ones that we're really targeting to strengthen. So they will help create that flatness across our lower abs. They'll help, hold everything in place. And when they're strong as well, it really helps our entire core, but our lower back, and helps protect us from any lower back pain. So we really want to think about holding tension in that front lower abdominal area. Now, to switch those on while we're doing our exercises, the way to do that is first to switch on at your pelvic floor. Now, switching on at your pelvic floor, it's as if you're turning off a tap when you're going to the loo midstream. So you squeeze that pelvic floor on. Then we want to feel as though we're trying to get a band of energy, or we're sucking a straw from our pelvic floor all the way up towards our belly button. So we suck that up, zippering up almost, like we're zippering up a pair of jeans, all the way up to the belly. Once we reach the belly button, we want to squeeze the belly in towards the spine. But we want to do that without holding our breath, without rounding the chest or holding tension anywhere else. So we really just want to focus on drawing the belly in towards the spine. Then we want to try to create a bit of a band of energy between our hips. It's as if we're almost trying to bring our hips closer towards each other. Now, they're not going to move closer towards each other, but that's the energy that we want to feel. So we're feeling a T-zone of energy here, a band from our pelvic floor up towards our belly button, and then another band from our hips to our belly button. So hopefully you can feel that tightness after that explanation, and we really want to try to keep that lower core engaged throughout our exercises. So when you hear me saying engage your core, engage your lower abdominals, draw that belly button in towards the spine, things that I'll repeat constantly throughout the workouts, those are the muscles that you want to be tuning into. All right, now I'm going to go through just sort of some basic exercises to help you try to engage those muscles while you're moving. So the first, probably one of the most fundamental ones that I like you to start with is working into, it's prior to, before we even start our toe taps. So we want to be lying down on our back. So lying down, now I'm going to also explain here spine position. So you've probably heard the terms neutral spine, imprinted spine, flat back, all of these things. You may not know exactly what we mean by that. So I'm going to talk you through it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to arch that back so we've got a really big gap underneath the spine. Then I want you to flatten the back in, lift the tailbone up. So we're just getting that movement in the spine, feeling those different kind of feelings that we feel as we're rolling and rounding that spine. All right, now next time your back is flat, I want you to notice that your tailbone is probably lifted and your core, you can't really engage your core in this position. So we don't want to ever find ourselves with a flat back and our tailbone lifted, because we won't be engaging the right muscles. We won't be able to engage the right muscles while we're doing the movements. Now, the next thing, we don't want to completely arch that back either. We want to have what's called an imprinted spine. Now, imprint is somewhere between the neutral and the flat. Now, a way to find the neutral is if you put the heels of your hands onto your hip bones and create a diamond shape with your hands, bringing your fingertips towards your pubic bone. If you rock up and down a little bit again with that back, so similar to what we were doing earlier, and then find that position where your hands are in a straight line, so your thumbs and your fingers are on the same, parallel to the ground, on that same horizontal plane. Now that's the neutral spine, and here you'll see you'll have quite a gap underneath your lower back. So many of you might have thought that a neutral spine was actually flattening in, because sometimes we don't explain it properly when we're teaching a class. But a neutral spine, you actually have quite a significant gap underneath there, and your back is quite arched. Now, in most of these exercises, you'll want to just slightly reduce that gap. Make sure the tailbone still doesn't lift, but just keep a really slight gap underneath that tailbone. The main thing to know though is you don't want the spine position to change. So whenever you're doing any exercises, we don't want to flatten the back, round the back. We want to keep it in usually that imprinted kind of position. Now, I want you to think about engaging the core. So we're keeping that spine exactly the same position that it is. Squeeze the belly button towards the spine, squeeze on your pelvic floor, and try to feel that band of energy in between your hips. Now, if you haven't already, bring your heels in towards your bottom, similar to what I've got. Knees are pointing up towards the ceiling. Now, keeping that core engaged, it might also help you just to hold your fingers around about where those transverse abdominals are. So do the little cough if you need to. Really squeezing those muscles. Now, all we're going to do is we're going to inhale, slide one foot along the mat, keeping those muscles engaged. Doesn't have to go all the way to straight. And then we're going to exhale as we draw it back in slowly. Now, I want you to think about going very slowly, alternating sides, but really trying to keep the spine in the same position to start with. Try not to let those abs pop in the middle. So sometimes as we're building our strength, the abs want to pop in the middle. We don't want to let that happen. We want to keep that nice flattened abdominal area. And we really want to be using those transverse abdominals to do the movement. That's why we're going nice and slowly. Inhale out, exhale back in, feel those transverse contracting. So as you extend the leg, those muscles will extend out and then they'll contract as you come back in. So that's one of the first exercises that you can just keep practicing if you're still working on finding your transverse abdominals or really, just starting out and wanting to strengthen them. So from here, the next level that we can look at is coming into like a reverse toe tap. So what we're going to be doing is engaging again, all of that area. So keeping the spine in the same position, pelvic floor switched on, engaging those transverse abdominals. Squeeze the belly button in. And now we're going to exhale, lifting one leg up to tabletop, squeezing those muscles in there. Then inhale as you slowly lower it again, feeling the extension of that muscle. So we're exhaling as we bring the leg up. And then we're inhaling as we lower again. Now, I want you to notice here, we're not changing the bend at the knee. We're going nice and slowly to make sure we're using the correct muscles, so we're not using any momentum. I want you to also make sure that your hips stay pointing upwards here, okay? So, exhaling as your leg comes up, then inhale as you lower. Make sure the hips aren't moving, the spine position isn't changing. Really try to focus in on those transverse abdominal muscles. So exhaling up, inhaling down.
Now, I'd love you to drop me a message if you're still getting a little bit confused with this. I would love to help you because this is really the basis of all of our Pilates stuff, okay? So really slow with those movements. So we're not doing this, we're not bending and extending, we're not bending it in. We're stopping here, lowering down. Now, anytime you feel pain in your lower back, or if your abs have had enough, especially when you're first starting out, just bring the feet down, relax the abdominals, either bring the knees into your chest, releasing the lower back, or keep the feet down, rock the knees over to one side and over to the other side. This will release out through your hips and your lower back, and it'll give those abs a bit of a twist as well, so gives them a nice little release. Okay, so those are the two really fundamental ones. Once we've mastered those, we can start up in our tabletop position. So we can come to tabletop and then we can work on the extensions of those exercises. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to get our spine into position, really keeping it in that position, tailbone grounded, slight curve in the spine, making sure the stomach stays flat, pelvic floor is switched on, squeeze the belly in. Now we're going to exhale one leg to tabletop, hold, squeeze that belly, keep that core engaged, exhale, lifting the other leg up. Now if you felt the middle of your stomach pop, then you're probably not using the right muscles. Focus again, drawing the flatness, transverse abdominals switched on. Hopefully by really thinking mindfully about it, you can actually refocus and engage those muscles. So they're the ones we want to strengthen. Since we're all at home, this is the perfect time to practice. So what we're going to do now is inhale down and exhale back up. Inhale to lower, making sure we're not popping that stomach. Exhale back up. So alternating toe taps. So that's level 3 of these exercises. Once you've mastered your toe taps, you'll be able to come into a single leg extension. We can even lift the arms up towards the ceiling at this stage because we know that we're not going to need them for support. So it's an exhale as you extend, inhale as you come back in. I actually said that the wrong way. Inhale, exhale back in. So again, refocus. Is your belly button drawing towards your spine? Is it the lower abdominals that you can feel? Pelvic floor switched on. Make sure there's no bulging. Again, if you fatigue, take a break. If your lower back starts hurting, definitely stop, bring your feet down and take a break. From here, we can start adding arms in. It sometimes gets a bit confusing, but if you want that extra work, opposite arm to leg. Again, making sure though that we've really got those abs switched on. If you're playing along with me at home and doing all of these at the same time, your abs are probably pretty fatigued by this point. Just remember, this video is just here to help you work out how to get your core engaged. You don't need to follow the whole thing. Just work to your level. Okay, so inhaling out, exhaling back. Always working really slowly with our ab exercises. We never want to be using momentum. So really nice and slow. Keep that spine in the same position. Again, focus. Is your spine flattening? Is your back rounding? All right, one more each side. If you're playing along, then we're taking a break. Back to center, bring those knees into your chest. Excellent. All right, so from there we can go into things like double leg extensions. We can work on adding some rotations to get the obliques into it. There's many other things, but today I'm really just working into that beginner video. So showing you how to get started, and then just know that there's a lot of things that we can do once we've mastered that. Okay,
So one more set of exercises that we can really work into our core and into our balance is in our all fours position. So I'm just going to briefly run through that with you as well, because whenever you're doing this, I want you to really make sure that that core is strongly engaged. Okay, so in our all fours position, what we want to make sure of is that knees are underneath the hips and your wrists are underneath your shoulders. Now, again, we're engaging the core, so it's the same principles, we're just facing the other way. So pelvic floor switched on. Draw the belly button in towards your spine. Make sure the hips stay pointing downwards. So before they were pointing up, now they're pointing down. Weight is centered. We really want to keep that torso stable. So both hips pointing down the whole time. Engaging that core. Now we're just going to lift the right arm up. Have it parallel to the ground. Now this might be enough for you, just this move. Just practice, just moving the arms. Otherwise, if you want to keep working here, we're going to also lift the left leg. Now, we want to squeeze the glutes here as well. We just want to hold that arm and leg parallel to the ground. You should feel the core quite strongly engaging here just to keep you balanced and to keep that weight centered. So just holding can often be just as hard, if not harder, than adding in movement, because then we've got momentum. So squeeze that belly button up and in. Make sure that that left hip isn't lifting, so the hips are pointing downwards. We're just going to hold for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and lowering down. All right, we're going to even up, doing that on the other side. So again, finding your center, engaging that core, squeeze the belly button up and in towards the spine, lower core strongly engaged. Lift your left arm now, so that arm is parallel to the ground. Your eye line will be just down in the middle of where your hands were. So strongly engaging the core. It's as if you've got a corset wrapped around your waist. Then lifting the opposite leg. So left arm, right leg, holding here. Squeezing the glutes as well. Make sure the weight doesn't come over to the left-hand side of your body here. You don't want to drop into that left hip. You want to just keep everything strongly engaged, really switching on those abs. So make sure you keep breathing here as well. We don't ever want to hold our breath when we're doing ab work. So squeezing the belly button up towards the spine, lower core, feeling it in the lower core. Just holding for another 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and lowering. All right, now after we've mastered that balance work as well, there's plenty of other little variations that we can do. Now, of course, with Pilates, I could do an entire couple of hours, I think, on abdominal work and abdominal exercises. But this is just the basics. I want you to master that. Once you've mastered the basics, then really you're going to be able to strengthen those abs in absolutely no time. So keep working at it, and please let me know if you've got any questions. I would love to answer them and love to help you get your core engaged. All right, thank you.